Welcome to this special Cup final count at the kick-off, where I'm joined by James, Asim and Paddy ahead of Celtic's big showdown with Rangers at Hampden on Sunday. Asim, I'll come to you first as the guest. Have the pre-match nerves kicked in just yet, or will it be all good on the night?
I think we did actually just today, just as you're kind of watching all the previous stuff, and finally it's hitting home. Obviously we had the European game to consider during the week, so it's been quite a busy, hectic schedule, and now it's fully kind of all about the derby final, and watching the press conferences just before we came in as well. So you're fully in the mood for it. Nerves, yeah, but I think we're confident, and we've got right to be, actually, given the kind of recent form book and how we've been all season. So yeah, looking forward to it.
What about the European stuff? Does that have an impact? So obviously we played early-ish on Tuesday, 5:45 kick-off, but in Zagreb. Rangers didn't play till last night. They played on Thursday at Ibrox. Both teams playing out draws. Do you think the recovery will play a part come Sunday?
Not really. I think we've had this kind of discussion before in previous seasons gone by, where they had the extra time games in Europe, and we all thought they might be tired. I think the adrenaline takes over. Momentum's a big thing. You know, this fixture a few weeks ago, Celtic were massive favourites. I think we still are, but obviously they were not in a good place and we were on fire. I still think we're doing well, but obviously performances in the last couple of games maybe tailed off a bit, and they're on a bit of a high and think they're back, and I think that plays into our hands, actually. But yeah, you can feel the kind of media narratives a wee bit switching, which I don't mind, to be honest.
Paddy, what's your general vibe just now? Are you feeling confident?
Yeah, still remain confident. I think I share what Asim saying in the terms of the media seem to be hyping things up a little bit. That's when our manager comes into his own, in my opinion. I think focusing the players for a game like this is his speciality, and one defeat in any of these games as well just goes to show what a strong record he's got. I think his mindset on Tuesday night, I think he was thinking about Sunday at points of that game against Zagreb, and in terms of the substitutions made as well, in terms of the lineup he's going to go for on Sunday. I think that everyone has got minutes on Tuesday that's probably going to be involved on Sunday, and I just think there's a lot that have got a point to prove as well, because there has been some slacker performances, but when, as we mentioned on Monday, if you're playing at such a high level and such a convincing level as we have been at the beginning of this season, it's expected that it's going to maybe kind of calm down at some games and maybe not be as electric as what we've watched so far, but I'm pretty sure they'll be ready for Sunday.
Yeah, do you know, it was just the early part of November when we were beating Leipzig and beating Aberdeen 6-0 and absolutely flying, and there's no doubt we've tailed off a wee bit since then, but that was such a high bar, such a high standard, and I don't think there's any great concerns regarding Celtic's form. James, I know you caught a bit of the press conference earlier on. Does Brendan look confident, and are you confident?
Yes to both. Yeah, I think this is where Rodgers comes into his own. He was getting asked some fairly silly questions about, Clement saying the financial gap and all these things, and Rodgers says, look, we did this ourselves, we built it up ourselves over time, patiently. When fans, including myself, were clamouring for the board to do things faster, I still think they could have, but maybe not just as stable as it's ended up. They're so rock solid in that regard, so it's a question that Rodgers can easily bat away because of the good work the board's done. And confident myself, yeah, I mean, I think it's good that they had a good result last night against what must be one of the worst Tottenham sides I've ever seen.
They've had plenty of bad sides over the years.
They look like they've never played together, and I think that is true for a lot of that team last night. But just two really bad teams, and you've got Ali McCoy saying it's a great advert for British football. It's not for me.
I think it looks quite clear those players have stopped playing for Ange. Tino Werner particularly, and I know that he dug him out. But anyway, less about them at this moment in time. Let's look at the route to the final for both sides. So Celtic played 3 games, as have Rangers, to get there. We beat Hibs 3-1 at Celtic Park, 2 goals from Maeda and 1 from Nicholas Kuhn that day. We then won 5-2 against Falkirk, and that was the whole experiment game, and people thought Brendan Rodgers, and in fact he himself thought he tinkered too much, but Celtic eventually 2 strong goals from Bernardo, a double from Maeda and a double from Kuhn, and then 6-0, I mentioned it, against Aberdeen. Brilliant performance at Hampden Park. Carter Vickers opens the scoring, then Kyogo, Maeda's hat-trick, and Nicholas Kuhn as well. So Kuhn has scored in every game in the run. 14 goals in total. Rangers, in contrast, they've also won their 3 games, 2-0 v St Johnstone, 3-0 v Dundee and 2-1 against Motherwell, but that's 7 goals scored versus our 14. What about that in general, Asim? Does that reflect kind of where both sides are this season in terms of the goals scored?
Yeah, I think so. I think you look at the Aberdeen semi-final, probably one of our best domestic performances this season. We've been free flowing, even during this kind of patch where people have said we've been slacking a wee bit. Still scoring 3 goals against Hibs, 5 against Ross County. So I think scoring's not been an issue, and defensively our record's been brilliant as well. So I think that kind of run sums up where we've been, and they've kind of struggled their semi-final against Motherwell. I do think they've improved. I don't think it's going to be a foregone conclusion, and I think a lot of Celtic fans are kind of aware that these finals have been tight. So I think for all the fact that there's been a massive gap between the two teams throughout the domestic season, and you can see that in the league table reflection, I do think that the cup finals even previously have been tight, and I do expect a tight game as well, despite the fact that, like, you look at those fixtures and results, it would seem there's a big gap. I think the one-off final, it could be tight.
I mentioned that Nicholas Kuhn has scored in each round. So far, is he a stick on to score in the final? He's not really unleashed himself on Rangers so far, has he?
Yeah, this is a fixture where you look for him to kind of come into it. He's had an amazing season. Again, probably maybe not been at his best the last couple, but you're just waiting for that kind of one derby moment that'll announce him on this fixture. And I think he's due one, as you say. Maeda on the other side always kind of really performs in this fixture. So you're just hoping Nicholas can bring back the form of a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, here's hoping. Paddy, just in terms of the form guides in general, so aside from League Cup, we have played 24 games, won 19, drew 4 and lost just 1. Rangers have played 26, won 16, drew 5 and lost 5 games. Into the bargain, Celtic are on this 30-game unbeaten run domestically. They do say form goes out the window and all that stuff. I'm not sure it does.
I'm not sure it does myself. I think what we will probably face on Sunday, though, is a very dogged Rangers. I think they had a 20-minute spell at Celtic Park where they said that if we play like that for 90 minutes, we would have beat Celtic.
It was 10 minutes.
True. But yeah, the fact of the matter is that they don't have the players to keep that going, and that's where we need to be patient on Sunday. I don't think that they're going to come out the traps. I think they're going to make it really difficult for us. There will be a few players that are leggy from the game last night. They put a lot into it, but again, there wasn't really any point for me last night that they had real control. I've seen a lot of people saying that that was a robbery from Tottenham last night. Just a really poor. I thought it was just two poor sides of football playing knockabout, to be honest. I think that if we show up, we're patient, which we seem to be under Rodgers, the chances will come. I really do. I'm not worrying about our form. I'm not worrying about some individual performances. I think that, as I say, this manager that we have comes into his own in these games, and I think the players will be ready for it.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers has never lost at Hampden as a Celtic manager. Do you know how many so far?
No.
4.
12.
Oh, sorry.
7.
Camden. 11. A wide array of answers.
This could be 12.
11 wins from 11 so far. James, I've looked at the route to the final. I've looked at the bigger picture in terms of both clubs this season so far. But in terms of specifically Glasgow derby form, Rangers have won just once in 90 minutes in the last 16 meetings of the two sides. So that was the 3-0 dead rubber after Ange had already secured a second successive league title. They did win another one. It was the Scottish Cup semi-final in 21-22 after extra time. They eventually went on to win 2-1 that day. But basically 2 wins in 16 meetings. I had to double and triple check the stats there. That's quite an incredible figure.
I think Clermont holds the most consecutive defeats without being bagged. You know,
Right.
if you lose 5 or 6, you're generally gone. I think he's lost 7 now, maybe 7 Sunday. But yeah, the stats and the form are all us. This is, our darkest moments were the 90s, and they were never as bad as this. We pop up with the odd win and draws and things like that. Never as bad as they're on. Now, that can't rucksack that into Sunday and think that'll just be a fait accompli. It's not. They're going to have to be really, really switched on. But for me, it's all about control. If you watch Rangers last night, and it's hear 'em, scare 'em.
Aye.
It's chasing guys down, kind of like you do as a wee guy, but there's no pattern to it. There's no, I'll press him and then there's someone behind me, or when we get the break, there's this, that. It's just closing guys down for the sake of it. Gaps will be left. I think they'll be looking to bypass the midfield. They're not looking to play any football.
No.
It's get it as quickly as you can to a winger guy, see if you can fling it in or get a set piece. That's kind of been their MO for the last 5 or 6 years. I think it'll be the same on Sunday.
Our midfield 3 is very important
Yeah.
on Sunday, though. In terms of look how quick we are and coming out the lines from the back. I think that bit for us, that transition's got to be key. because they will have taken confidence from last night, especially I think Raskin. I've never rated him, but he was in Tottenham's faces last night. He was everywhere off the ball. I don't think he'd done much on the ball.
Hi guys, it's Tino here, and just a short interruption to let you know of a big promotion we're running right here on our YouTube channel between now and Christmas Eve. We're giving away a retro Celtic away shirt as seen on screen right now to one lucky winner, and all you need to do is sign up to become a member of the Celtic Exchange channel here on YouTube. There's options starting at just $1.99 a month where you can enjoy early access to the Celtic Exchange weekly, as well as the ability to comment on any live show that we do throughout the season. The link to do so is in the show notes for this episode, and as I mentioned, the big draw takes place on Christmas Eve. That's Tuesday, 24th of December. Get signed up right now, show your support to the Celtic Exchange, and you could be winning that retro Celtic away shirt. Okay, let's get back to the episode.
I think that was the blueprint. The way they played last night is the way they'll approach it, and I think they'll also have watched our game against Zagreb, and likewise Zagreb kind of played like that as well. Like, they allowed us the ball, but as soon as it came into midfield forward kind of areas, they pressed, and I think that's what we will. Patience, you mentioned, I think that will be key. I don't think this will be a game where they're going to leave loads of gaps early on. I think they'll try and stay in the game, and I think we're going to have to be patient, much like that Aberdeen game in the semi. You know, it took us a while until we got the breakthrough, and then you hope things can open up. But I do think they will take confidence from that. It's natural. And I think it would just be great just to knock them off again, because the amount of stuff since last night I've seen.
It's great when you look at that. Somebody's got the chart on Twitter as well, and it's like goes through the phases of being a Rangers fan, and we're at that bit where we're back again, and let's knock it on to the next section.
Let's make Rangers great again.
Oh,
so what are you just now?
Exactly. All right.
Paddy, you mentioned Nicholas Raskin on the ball, off the ball, but what about the psychological part of Sunday's game? I've rhymed off those stats there about what's happened over the last 16 games. There is no doubt that we are absolutely dominating the fixture, generally speaking, and a number of those players, I know Rangers have brought various new guys in over the summer, but a number of the players there, you can start with your captain, you can add Butland to that and various others, they've all experienced this feeling of losing to Celtic time after time after time. How much does that play a part on Sunday?
Massive, but at the same time, I think that they will be feeling the confidence from last night's game, and it's up to our midfield. The one player that they'll try and pin everything on Sunday, make no doubt about it, will be Callum McGregor. He's that little bit older now, that little bit slower, and I think that for them, that'll be the player that they've never been able to really get near in any of these games, but that'll be the one player Raskin's tasked to try and stop, and he's never been able to do it. He might get some success. Adrenaline's there for him. The thinking that he can do it at a higher level is there for him. I think our captain will still have the better of him, and I think that's where whoever the other midfield two are on Sunday, what we've seen a lot of lately in terms of games like Atalanta, in terms of games like Leipzig, is there's been a lot more protection for Callum McGregor in those spaces for teams breaking against us. But on the ball, McGregor still needs protection as well.
I suppose if they're putting that much focus on Callum McGregor, it naturally leaves space elsewhere.
Yeah.
So if they're doubling up on him, then one of our other couple of midfielders might find themselves with that space to exploit. Asim, you might know the stat better than I do at the moment, but Callum McGregor, am I right in saying he's never lost a domestic final? He's got some sort of incredible record at that level.
I'm not 100% sure, but it sounds about right.
That's correct.
Do you not pick up this info when you're on the other shows?
No, that's
when you're on with
Get in.
Slacking.
I think that's the stat though. Like, he's never lost a domestic final, but if you add that to the fact that Brendan Rodgers is 11 for 11 at this moment in time, I just think that confidence permeates across the dressing room.
Winners.
Everyone looks to these guys as the leaders, you know, the manager and the captain, and I think they get a buzz off that as well. There's also the added incentive, James, that if you win this game, you become the world's most successful football club of all time ever.
Yeah, told Barca, Madrid.
Break the news to Real Madrid.
Munich.
Obviously, what I'm talking about here is that at this moment in time, in Celtic's full history, we've won 118 major trophies, including the European Cup. All versions of Rangers have also won 118 trophies, not the European Cup, yet they profess to be the world's most successful football club. So if we do win on Sunday and we go to 119, then we are top dogs. How much do you read into all that kind of stuff?
Bucket of pish.
Right.
Aye.
I like the.
Let me just note that
What
down.
a load. I mean, it was embarrassing when they started it, but they
Bucket
perpetuated, and then
of
they started painting it on walls and stuff. I mean, it's a continuity attempt that, you know, if you really need to shout it that loud, you're telling us you don't believe it yourself. So that's
Did you hear
all.
Rodgers' comments? I just caught a snippet. He's like, "Oh, of course we just like to win trophies and just add to our." But he goes, "We don't need to tell everyone about it." He actually said those words. So
there has been a lot of backtracking on it, Paddy, in recent times. But there's no doubt it's something that a large part of the Rangers fan base have bought into, but they're not buying into it so much now.
Well, you say that. There's some threads talking about wartime trophies. There's some threads talking about the lower league trophies being counted as well. But ultimately, what you've also got to remember is that we are comfortable. Enough of that. We are happy in what we are doing. We are happy in what we're bringing to the table. We are secure when we're not insecure. So I'm not buying into it myself. I can't be bothered with all of that part. It took me back to the 55s chat as well, and now 56 chat that has been an ever present from them as well. It's desperation to be noticed again.
So we're going for our 55th title this year. Have you heard MD mention such an embarrassing thing?
Remember the magic hats made out of the Warburton's loaf?
Aye,
Stuff like that. No, none of that, thank God.
But hey, I was a bit daft when I was 12.
Okay, let's get to the lineups. I've not caught much of the press conference, but I believe you lads have. And the big news is that Alistair Johnson seems fit. James, how much of a boost is that?
It's massive, and I think as much for anything else as his relationship with Nicholas Kuhn. I think they've got a real understanding and they've got a real flow there. But as a defender, I just love him. He's, Tony Ralston has full commitment as well, but Johnson is that, loves the tussle. So if they're looking to bring a physical game, Johnson's just the man for that. And I think without him, we would definitely be missing a bit. And I'm saying that as a huge Tony Ralston fan. But yeah, it's a big boost. But I was very worried about it myself because you saw that. And it was a clash, on Tuesday night, and he's not the kind of guy that's going to go off if he doesn't have to. So if Johnson's down and staying down and having to go off, it must have been bad enough. But I think he was on the training pitch today, but without full training. Let the swelling go down. He'll have a light session tomorrow, and he's past fit anyway. So
Sky were reporting earlier he never trained as well. Sky Scotland.
I think he didn't take part in the main sessions.
The full session.
But just let that swelling go down. Yeah.
I love that though. That's the other side of us at the moment as well. Like years gone by when things were very tight against them, it would be we're not sure yet. It will be down to the 11th hour if this player's going to be part of the team. Whereas straight away it's like, no, he's played.
Aye.
Yeah.
Because he's one of our best players and he's better than any other. So it's just that confidence oozes from Celtic at the moment.
Yeah,
so
they're happy enough to let it go.
Yeah, you don't need to play those games when you're that confident in yourself.
Exactly.
Asim, a lot of the chat, and rightfully so, is about what Celtic do and have done this season going forward. We're scoring goals by the bucket loads, and that front three of Kyogo, Maeda and Nicholas Kuhn are absolutely flying. But I've mentioned Alistair Johnson in terms of how important he is to this side, and another guy in the back line who I think's equally important, and he's played a huge part so far, is Kasper Schmeichel. What's your take on him and the part he'll play going into such a game as Sunday?
Hopefully he'll not be too busy, but anytime he's been called upon, he's been brilliant. Everyone spoke about how good he is on the ball, but if you look at his shot stopping, and there's been a few games lately where he's actually kept us in it. Kilmarnock away, crucial save in midweek against Zagreb, and even at Aberdeen away. So yeah, he's been brilliant, and again you can see his leadership skills. Everyone's seen what he did after the Club Brugge game, when Carter Vickers scored the own goal. He got the group together, huddled them in, so just shown that leadership. And I think there's just a trust there between that back four now, especially when he's on the ball. And I think it makes such a difference in games like tomorrow, where they will probably really try and stop Callum McGregor, just for Kasper Schmeichel to be able to pick out other wee passes, chip them in, whether it's going out wide or centrally. So huge. And I watched his kind of interview with his dad in midweek as well, which was really good to see. And you can just tell he's loving it, and he is a huge instrumental kind of figure in the dressing room, which was crucial, because when you're losing Joe Hart, that was a worry. You're losing a leader, and he's just came in seamlessly. Yeah,
it's been a great transition from Hart to Schmeichel. I think we can all agree Schmeichel will start. Alistair Johnson, all being well, his fitness will be right back. And I think Carter Vickers and Trusty will be the centre-half pairing on board with that. Yeah. Left back is an ongoing question mark, and there's a frustration for me there, because we know that contractually both may be away from Celtic come the summer. And I think at the moment Brendan Rodgers keeps flip-flopping between the two. I'd like to see stability in one way or another, but we're not seeing that just yet, Paddy.
We're not. I still think he's kind of laying the gauntlet down for Bailly in order to say, look, you still need to be consistent for me. You still need to show what you can bring. I think obviously it's a very difficult place to go to Pittodrie, especially with those weather conditions. But he wasn't comfortable in it, He didn't enjoy it, and I think that for a game like this as well, Taylor's got the experience. I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor gets the nod on Sunday. I would love to see Bailly get a run, absolutely. I think that, I've said on this show many a time that I love what Greg Taylor's done for Celtic, but he's not the answer for me long term, and nor are we going to give him 25 grand a week for a contract.
This figure's doing the rounds. Do you think that's the number he's asking for?
I think potentially, in the sense of this is his last big deal potentially before he starts looking at winding down his career in a sense.
What age is he? Still only kind of mid-20s?
27 or something.
Aye. So I think he's also probably saying to Celtic, listen, if I don't get it here, I'll get it in the Championship.
Yeah. I think that's fair enough. I've no real problem with Taylor's position. And I suppose I'm not daft on the wee snippets that his camp are leaking out and stuff. It's a wee bit underhand. But Celtic aren't going to pay that for someone that we're trying to make our second choice left back.
No chance.
So, that kind of negotiation is a bit of a waste of everyone's time. Let's just make a plan. Let's exit nice and gently. Let's go with everyone's best wishes. And he would go with your best 100%. Wishes. But he's perfectly entitled. I think he's recently married. I think his wife's pregnant.
Aye.
So he'll be looking to protect his numbers and stuff. And there's no problem with that. Go and make your move down to the Championship. Lose all this stuff. Lose all this amazing football stuff. And protect your bank. It's just the choice you make.
Aye.
So he just turned 27 on the 5th of November. So still a young guy, but at this stage in a at this stage in a footballer's career, Paddy, I'm excited.
Sorry.
You've got to seek that big payday, and maybe that's just what's going on. But what it has led to is instability for Celtic. You've got Taylor with, I don't want to say 1 foot out the door, but he's thinking about putting 1 foot out the door, and Bhoys only get 1 foot in the door. So we don't have this left back that we can hang our hat on at this moment in time.
I still think he'll get the nod tomorrow. I think he's Rodgers' more kind of trusted option. All the kind of big games, I know Petrodri you mentioned, but other than that, European games, he's gone with Taylor, and I think he'll go with Taylor tomorrow, which I've kind of listened to your take on it. We spoke about it in midweek in terms of the difference between the two, and Bhoys just offers that more kind of, he's Taylor's risk of, Taylor's always kind of cautious, isn't he? And he doesn't kind of take that risk, whereas Bhoys does. But I think in a game like Sunday, having that extra option in midfield where Taylor drops in could be important, because I think they will go man for man in midfield. So as much as I want to see Bhoys get a run as well, I wouldn't be surprised to see with Taylor, and I wouldn't be against it.
You would have to assume that Bhoys is training that way as well, though, in terms of being able to drop in. And Rangers have never been able to handle that, by the way, under Ange when we brought the fullbacks in. So I would assume that Bhoys is at that level. I just don't think he thinks he's there. And I think Aberdeen was maybe the test for Bhoys, and he's still thought.
Difficult one, though, too.
Very, of course. But
conditions.
Are you ready for it? And I don't think he is yet.
The big difference, and I think Bhoys can. We've seen him popping up at centre forward positions, as we have Taylor, and we've seen Taylor's excellent delivery in the final third. So they're both able in that regard. Taylor cannot track back. He's not fit enough or fast enough. Bhoys can. I actually think Bhoys a better defender, but the biggest thing for me is I think Tierney's an average winger's okay, tricky feet. I think he roasts Greg Taylor all day, and I think Bhoys stands up better to that, and for that reason I'd be buying left back.
He was non-existent at Celtic Park.
He's picked a wee bit of form, a wee bit of confidence, so they'll be instructed to go at Taylor. I think Bhoys handles that better.
Aye.
Yeah, I think he's not a bad player, but you're right, he did not turn up at Celtic Park. So just on that, I know you prefer Bhoys and you've justified it there, but do you think Rodgers will go with Taylor?
Yeah. No, I think we'll go with Bhoys.
You think he will?
I think the fact that he even picked him for Petrodri says, I trust you to play a big game. Now, the conditions and everything that happened that night, it didn't happen for him. He was particularly poor, and Taylor came on and played well, apart from left back stuff. So I think Rodgers is seeing in Bhoys that I'm able to pick you for big, tough games, and this is a big, tough game as far as the domestic goes.
I'd like to see it, but I don't see it. I think he goes with Taylor. I think it's the guy that he nudges towards for these games just now. But who knows? But we'll see what happens there. So we're agreed on everything but left back so far. I'm going to give you my nailed on Callum McGregor and let you lads work out the midfield, because I don't know at this moment in time. Asim, a lot of noise about arneengels. We've covered it in depth in recent shows. I think he's a real talent. He's just turned 21. I've no doubt he'll come good for Celtic, but is he there at this moment in time? Does he start a game like Sunday?
Nah. I think for me, it's a few weeks ago maybe there was a bit of a debate on it. I think Bernardo again was probably our best midfielder, and on Tuesday. He's consistently good, and I think he's got to start. The option maybe if you want to, Rio Tati's been off form, and maybe Engels in for that added protection that you said for McGregor, athleticism. But I just don't think he's doing enough. I don't think he's taking the game by the scruff of the neck. He looks a bit nervous. I agree, Tino. I think he will come good, hopefully, but he's not showing it in recent performances. He got the goal against Hibs, and I thought he may kick on from that. I don't think he went on to have a great game there. I think he just needs this season just to bed in and get acclimatised. I think he can come on and play a part, but I want Bernardo in there. And then we've tried the Bernardo, Engels and McGregor combo in Dortmund, and I know a completely different opposition, but for me it didn't work because we lack that creativity.
Aye.
In terms of making those kind of passes. As much as Tati's been frustrating, he's the one at the midfield that can do it. So I still put him in there with Bernardo and McGregor.
The thing for me with Arneengels is, and I get it, I don't think the performances have been great of late, but I would actually say that I don't think any of the midfield three get pass marks for me on Tuesday night. I thought that Bernardo tracking back and winning the ball back, yes, absolutely. But I still thought that killer instinct and that confidence to take the ball forward wasn't there. I didn't really enjoy seeing Engels' name getting thrown about again on social media the other night and asked, you know, what's the thoughts on this?
I think the free kick at the end was probably what stuck with people, isn't it? Because it was the last kick of the ball.
True, but he's also millimetres away from a perfect pass in and a goal, and he get into a great position, an area that of the last two games I've seen him in as well. We've seen him really, really trying to press himself into that position. When we're speaking about on Monday the 8 or the 6, I think he is trying in that further forward position. But I'm just a bit like there wasn't much talk on social media, and I know I'm only going by Twitter here, but of Hatate or Bernardo and the performances from them. None of them were carrying or trying to take the game forward on Tuesday night for me, and that I think we kind of need to be careful that we're not just singling out the one guy, because listen, they're paid a lot of money. I'm not taking that away, but obviously they're going to see this stuff. Obviously they're going to doubt themselves. Obviously they're going to have these questions, and it's a big place to come to, Celtic, as we know already. But I just think we need to start supporting them a lot more instead of getting on their case.
Asim, you may have heard the debate on the weekly show on Monday. Miff seems to have just disregarded any suggestion of deep line midfielders and creative midfielders and box to box midfielders. They're all just in the mix. They're all the same.
All midfielders.
No 4, 6, 8, 10. He's just not having it. So he's gone old school there. But I do think there's a thing going on with Arneengels where my personal opinion is he could be a really strong 6, and it's where he played for Augsburg. He sat in that defensive role where Callum McGregor sits just now, and nobody's moving Callum McGregor anytime soon from Celtic's defensive midfield position. It's also the margins, Paddy, at this top level of football, because he does brilliantly to flash that ball across the face of goal, and it is inches from Ida getting on the end of it, and we're talking about a masterclass in Europe. Brendan Rodgers, we sit in, and then we go and score the goal, and we're good to go. It just shows you how tight it is, and Arneengels would have been one of the heroes given the role that he played in nearly getting that assist. But James, as I say, he's got time. I've got huge confidence in him, but he's not quite there yet. You'd certainly agree that he's not on top form at this moment in time.
Yeah, but no time like now. I think there's a time. I think we,
big players, big games.
Aye, and I think he's got that mentality. I think as a group we can probably, Callum probably say Bernardo. Is that well happy with that?
To start?
Aye.
I think he would deserve that.
I mean, obviously McCowan plays a part in that being cup tied.
Yeah.
Probably looking at Thiago Holm getting a spot on the bench actually, to give us that extra option. So if we can agree on Bernardo, it's basically a choice of Engels and Rio, and I think Rio's recent form just suggests a wee bit of, a game on the bench and coming off the bench and shows what you can do. I think we'll get more from Rio in that than another game of pressure from the start. I know he's got the talent.
Yeah.
But he was honking at Pataudry and is the only man on the pitch, maybe the only man in Scotland that could score that goal in that fashion against Aberdeen. Yeah. So I know the talent he's got. It's a matter of getting it out. So for me, more physicality in Engels. I think he's got tidy feet. I know what you mean about 6, but I think he's wasted in a 6. I think he's got a lot more to offer than that, and maybe that's why Rodgers is persevering with him and training him up to be an 8. That move, down the left in Tuesday night, there's not a lot of guys can do that. So for me, it's Kalmack, Bernardo, Engels.
And Rio Hatate, as we see on the screen, is a man who knows how to score against Rangers. He's done it, several times now, and he's got the experience of the fixture. But again, I suppose I get all your rationale. I'm just trying to think here of what the manager does, and I think he goes with...
He's a loyalist. He's a Rio loyalist.
A loyalist?
Whoa.
A Rio loyalist.
He is now.
A Rio loyalist.
Wrong podcast. My goodness.
He trusts Hatate. He's one of these guys, and that's maybe why he might lean towards Taylor as well. I get that, but I just think it's time for Engels. I do.
It wouldn't surprise me based on, again, we know what Rangers are going to play like, and we seen Raskin last night. That's all you kind of had to his game, all energy, kind of snapping at heels, and Rio sometimes can get caught up in those.
Out.
Yeah, especially in those games where people are
kicked out of games. I don't think Engels can.
And I think it's a big decision for the manager to make, but I think there is an argument for someone with Engels' physicality to kind of match up against what they're going to give us.
And I wouldn't be surprised if at any point in their youth careers they know each other as well, Engels and Raskin. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's an element of I've got the better of this guy if I wanted. So could play into it. But no, listen, if it was Hatate, it started with Bernardo and Callum McGregor, I'd be happy. If it's Engels, I'd be happy. I'm easy. That is the luxury we have this season.
Yeah, I'd say that's the two big debates to be had. So Bernardo, I think, will get the nod. So whether it's Hatate and Engels that join him and McGregor remains to be seen in terms of midfield, and Greg Taylor versus Baye in terms of left back. Up top, are we all agreed it's that three that have been flying high? Kyogo in the middle, Nicholas Kuhn right hand side, and Daiz Maeda on the left.
Yeah, I think it picks itself. We need them all firing though. I think that's the thing. We need them to all bring a really kind of good performance. Maeda, you can usually tell within the first 5 minutes what kind of
first 21 seconds.
And then it'll be. I know we spoke about what we're going to do, but it'll be interesting to see what they do because I think Tavernier is obviously the one that's everyone's been speaking about in the last few weeks, and he got an assist last night. So I wonder if there's going to be pressure on him to kind of play him again, which I'll be delighted if he does.
I think that's the mistake he's made.
I know.
He's played Tavernier in at that team on Sunday, and Dyser loves that.
Yeah. But he does. I actually still think he's still got the better of Dujon Sterling as well. I do. I've loved both pictures you put up, by the way, because both have got the goalkeeper in tears.
Angle's number one. Come on,
it's just the way it played out, Paddy.
What a goal that was. That was a great goal.
But that goal is symptomatic of the relationship between Daiz Maeda and James Tavernier.
Aye.
He just cannot live with everything that Maeda brings to the party. And we'll touch on Rangers in just a second, but I think the big difference in what the two managers are doing in terms of picking a team, we're picking a team to just go out and dominate and win the game. They'll be picking a team to stop all our key players, and they'll be looking around and going, all right, well, he can do this from midfield, he's got this in the wing, he's got this up front. Jeez, where do we stop with these guys? There's just so much quality.
But that just showed you, like, when we played them in August, September, the first one, they basically said, right, there's too many different factors, just go for it.
But, yeah,
and we'll see how we got on.
The interesting thing in what you're saying though is I think it plays into our hands if they actually went to try and win the game and played the likes of Hadji. But I think they will try and stop us, which for me not worries me but makes me think it's going to be a tight game, because they'll just turn it into a scrap, and then it'll be the odd bit of quality that you might hope that we'll be able to get at the end of the game. But if he bows down to maybe fan pressure, which is go and have a go at them, it'll play into our hands.
Yeah, but let's do that then. Let's have a look at Rangers and what we think they'll bring to the party. So I think we've generally or loosely agreed on 9 of Celtic's 11 positions are just that midfield and left back question mark. It does leave real quality on the bench, potentially 11 million arneengels, 9 million Adam Ida, the experience and maturity of James Forrest, Yang, my boy, I trust him, and guys like Liam Scales, who's done very little wrong, plus one or two others, whether Thiago Holm and a couple of other guys get the nod. So in terms of Rangers, as I say, their big challenge is not going and asserting themselves in terms of their creative players, and Cherny that you mentioned might be one of them. Their first big task of the day is stopping us, and based on this season's form and this fixture's form in recent years, that's no easy task for anybody.
No, and if the referee, we'll laugh at the back, plays JB plays to the rules, then they'll hear him, scare him running about, kicking everything, should be nipped in the bud. You should be looking at early yellow cards for that kind of stuff. Raskin is, probably chief amongst that if he's going to be tasked with man marking Cal McGregor. I don't know if Barron starts, he's been a bit in and out, but those two would be the two I would imagine would try and pair up on McGregor. But that just leaves space everywhere else, and you're saying like you need these other midfielders. I think the fullbacks are key to that.
Yeah,
that's where the spaces will be to then build, and you're past two guys in a press. You're off and running then. I don't see any, much like Spurs last night, the word I use, I don't see any identity in a team like that, Spurs or Rangers. what is your style? What do you believe in? It's just kick and rush. It's chaos ball.
Yeah, various pundits from the start of the season have been saying we're struggling to find out what Philippe Clement's philosophy is.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'll put 11 guys out and we'll see what happens. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And, too many times this season from their point of view, it hasn't worked at all. Asim, in terms of their backline, John Souttar got taken off injured against Spurs and he'll be a concern. I don't know the update on that. But I don't care whether it's James Tavernier, John Souttar, Robin Proper, Balogun, Chefche, or anyone else that they want to put in front of Celtic strikers. They, as the various images have shown, have just struggled time after time, and I don't know who they can. In fact, there's nobody they can bring to the party that they'd be confident can stop Celtic's front line.
Kyogo's the man for this fixture and this stadium as well. He's how many finals has he won us? How many derby goals has he scored? And it's been against a very selection of defenders that they've had. So you're right, they just struggle to stop him. He can be quiet in a game and he'll pop up with the goals. Dyson Maeda we spoke about, and as you mentioned, Kuhn, he's due a big game in one of these fixtures. So you're right, whatever selection they go with. Obviously, I think Souttar, they've hyped Souttar's like the next big thing that they keep hyping up now. But he is better than Proper, who I think's is really poor. So that will be a blow. I don't know what the update is, but if it was a groin strain, I'd imagine he'd struggle to be fit. And then we're in.
If he has a bit of caffeine. A special caffeine.
Well, remains to be seen. So I think, but whoever they put out, I think we're looking to be kind of all over them in terms of that forward attacking threat. They won't be able to handle it.
In terms of some of the options they've got moving forward, Paddy, so out of nowhere, Haji's back in the mix and they've sorted their financial issues, whatever they may have been.
He took a wage cut.
Did they?
Must have been.
Danilo's back in the game. Igman. He seems to have hit a bit of form, scored against Spurs. So how much does Celtic need to be wary of their attacking threat?
Yeah, but I just think we do our homework every game we go into, and I think defensively we have been solid, bar one game in Dortmund. We've been really, really strong in what we've done, and
7 breakaway goals.
Aye, 7 counter attacks. I just think that it's there's not been any real rocky moments, and we've spoke about Schmeichel already in this show, but a goalkeeper so comfortable with the ball at his feet, also to have the trust in your back line within 5 months and knowing where those guys are going to be, having them ready to receive the ball in tight situations, being comfortable and confident that they're going to take the ball in those moments. I just still think we're almost too clever for certain teams. Listen, we're going to see what it's going to be all about, obviously, on Sunday. If they're going to try and press us, that's the moments that I think play into Celtic's hands. I think that we're very, very calm under pressure when they try and do that. We couldn't get our ball in the foot in that 10 minutes at Celtic Park in September. But when we do, and if we get the early goal, they crumble. They crumble. And I just feel that that'll be the case on Sunday. But I do think they'll try and make it extremely stuffy against us.
Before we come to each of you for your scoreline predictions, let's look at the managers and how they shape up in terms of head-to-head stuff. James, you'd mentioned that Philippe Clement has got a particularly woeful record so far. At first it was, I'm just in the door. It's nearly summer. It's not quite my guys. There's all the excuses, but ultimately ends up just with L's on his record all the way through. And I mentioned Brendan Rodgers' record, not just against Rangers, but at Hampden. 11 wins from 11. He's got a confidence, I would say a positive arrogance, just in terms of how he approaches these fixtures. And I think having Brendan Rodgers at the top of the tree for us versus Philippe Clement for them, I think that's a bit of a mismatch, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, Rodgers is an elite coach and he doesn't get it for free. I would believe he is one of the hardest working coaches we've ever had. I think I've said it before on this podcast. The prep he does, you've interviewed him, I've been at press conferences with him. He's so expansive on his football knowledge, his philosophy, his game plan, because of the amount of work he puts in. If you go to anyone that is speaking on their chosen topic, the people who are good at it is people who know it inside out. He knows it inside out. Now, I'm not saying Clement doesn't know football. He does. I just don't think he's anywhere near the level.
Does he? He's got a funny way of showing it.
A wee bit generous there. No, he's been in the game a long time. He has, right? So, but I don't think he's anywhere near Rodgers' level. I think it is a mismatch, like you say.
Asim, does having Brendan Rodgers at the helm give you confidence as much as anything else that we've spoken about in terms of records and personnel and whatever else is going on?
100%. I think James nailed it. You just have a trust in the manager. Even last year when we were going through that phase where we were looking like blowing the league title, when you heard him speak and you heard him say, "Look, we'll write our own story," you just trusted him. And these games especially, his record's unbelievable. And even again yesterday, everyone's talking about Rangers, hyping them up. They're back, the form. I just trust Brendan complicitly. Like
you'll love that.
Yeah,
you'll love that.
I think he thrives on these games, and he thrives when all the chat's been about them. This time last year, mind we were going through a really bad run of form, and again he said it after the December victory. How many managers is that now? The Rangers are coming.
Aye.
He loves all that, and you just believe that he's going to have his number again on Sunday. And I think more so than it's a spine of players: Carter Vickers, McGregor, Kyogo, winners. That have won so many trophies, but won this fixture so many times as well. And then the manager, and I think that's where a lot of our confidence comes from. And we were talking about Igaman there. I think he's looked good.
Yeah.
But again, I just think Carter Vickers and Trusty, you feel the trust there that they'll deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll do our homework, whereas a lot of these European teams, it looked like Spurs had probably not even watched Rangers, didn't have a clue what to do. Whereas I think we won't miss a trick.
Paddy, Brendan Rodgers, generally speaking, is always switched on, always focused, always prepped, but he undoubtedly comes to life with these kind of fixtures.
After the game. He does his talking after the game.
Yeah.
Never in the build-up to it. He's very, very coy in what he's saying and very coy and getting embroiled in anything from the media. He's so clever at his own management in terms of his speaking, and then it must feel even sweeter when he can just open up and say, "You said this, you've said this, you've said this, we've knocked that away, we've knocked this away, we've knocked that away."
It's an interesting way to look at it. He obviously manages a group and manages a team, but he manages himself to an extent. I wonder if he'll tell himself to get some studs on the Tom Fords for the track side at Hampden.
It's the rain, so he better.
That's a big call for him. Okay, let's get to the scorelines then. I wonder if this might have been quite different even just a couple of weeks ago. I accept that Rangers have had a slight but genuine upturn in fortunes. They're playing better than they were when they drew with Dundee United at Ibrox, and we've maybe tailed off slightly by our own high standards. I'm still confident of a win. I'll give you my scoreline just shortly, but I'll come to you first, James. How do you see it all playing out?
Public Enemy said, "Don't believe the hype." It's just all
big Celtic fans. Public Enemy.
I think so.
Flavour.
Last Tony Doc. I think this is all. I think they have been better. I agree with you, but they were so bad, and this is a multi-million-pound wage bill. Of course, you should be beating the teams you're beating in the last few weeks. It's only 3 weeks ago I'm winning money for them drawing with Dundee United, so let's all calm down.
Share the wealth, James. I've not seen it.
Where's the pipe, mate?
And then, Kate Sunday. And then last night I thought they performed well. They performed strangely energetically, shall I say. And we'll see if that energy finds itself onto the pitch on Sunday. But like Clement to Rodgers, there's a chasm between Rangers and Celtic. It's a 3-0 win. Just calm down.
Calm down. 3-0 says Flavour Flav. What are you saying, Asim?
Even a few weeks ago, I didn't think this was going to be a kind of walkover. I just think cup finals, you look at even when we were under Ange, when we were so dominant, I think 2-1 and 1-0, wasn't it, the semi-final and final? I think it'll be by the odd goal again, and I think we'll win 2-1.
2-1. Paddy, we're all going to your house before the game. Is that an open invite to listeners and viewers?
Aye,
to Celtic land.
To Celtic land. Of course it is. No told Kate yet, but aye, that's fine. I think for me, I can understand the pragmatism. I think that we always look at a cup final and we think it's a bit different, but I just generally think that there's another level for this team again, and I think we've been speaking about this little run in December, and we're kind of chipping away game by game, and nothing's really standing out to say to me that Celtic are going to falter anytime soon. I'm going to go 3-0 as well.
Oh yes,
3-0.
Aye.
I was close to your thinking, Asim, in terms of despite our dominance, we've not really. It's a one big thing missing in modern Celtic v Rangers history. An absolute doing, a 5, 6, 7, in more recent times.
Have we got you all revved up?
I don't know. 40 minutes, I'm buzzed.
I'm here for that.
But I think, that could happen. That is definitely a possibility. And you mentioned earlier on, Paddy, if we score early, they could and generally do crumble. But we've just been I don't think we've fully taken the foot off the gas in this fixture, and that's what I'd love to see. I'm not convinced we will see it tomorrow, but I think we will dominate. To call it by the odd goal is probably a reasonable nod, but I'm going to go slightly more adventurous. I'm going to go for 3-1. So all score lines in the positive. 3-0 to James and Paddy, 2-1 for Asim, 3-1 for myself, and I think would be delighted with any option. 3:30 kick-off, slightly unusual time. Rainy weather, is that the chat?
Last I checked.
When did you check?
Yesterday.
Okay, things change.
Things do change. They don't call me Precipitation Pat for no reason, by the way.
Right. He's always on the weather app.
Precipitation.
I love it.
It's true.
Let's see if that sticks. Pat, I'll come to you for your final words ahead of this one.
So Pat, no, it's always just exciting when we come up to another cup final, and I always still remember the days of Neil Lennon saying, "Oh, it's Hampden," and playing it down as it's a difficult place to go, and I love it. I love Hampden. I think that we've made it our own, and it's a special place. Some great memories with my friends and my family over the years in it now, and I think that there's a whole core of our team that know what it's about. I think you just go back to May when you seen them all standing as a whole unit, and that team lineup, listening to the fans sing "Walk On." They won that again. That's incredible moments for fans and for players, and I think we've got enough about us. I think the way we've started the season, we've been incredible. We've played some incredible football, and I just feel that we know what the task is. We know what we need to do, and I just think, it'll be another trophy come Sunday.
And you say there, Paddy, that you love Hampden. We've had great experiences in recent times. I think a huge part, if not all, of the Celtic fan base have now got this very fond relationship of Hampden. You take it back to Tom Rodgich's goal under Brendan Rodgers and everything that's followed since then. But I also think that Brendan Rodgers himself loves Hampden. Callum McGregor loves Hampden. Adam Eder loves Hampden. Ask him. Carter Vickers, Alistair Johnson. You've got a whole core of players that Kyogo, of course, that thrive on this environment. And I think that all moves, amongst everything else we've spoken about, all moves in Celtic's favour. Asim, your own final comments.
Yeah, 100%. The memories, got that picture up there. That game was torture.
Hoops upside your head.
It was absolutely brutal. But again, just the memories of it at the end and the celebrations. As Paddy says, we've got so accustomed to Hampden just being a brilliant day out, and then we're so used to winning. Rodgers 100% record there, and I can't see it being any different on Sunday. And look, we've having such a good season, but this could be a really momentous season, and I think this will be the start. A wee checklist, get this ticked off, and then you've still got Europe to look forward to. We're way ahead in the league. This could truly be one of the kind of great seasons, and what a way to start it off on Sunday. Can't wait for it. And looking forward to it.
You got a ticket?
Do you want to make any requests before we sign off? As it stands,
I've not missed a Hampden final since the 2000. I can't even remember what was Darren O'Day and McGeady scored.
2009.
Right.
That is the last time I've not been at a Celtic final. So currently didn't get any luck in the ballot. So if any of the wonderful listeners know of any spares going about, forever grateful.
Yeah, we'll see if we can keep that record going. If anyone does have a ticket, drop us a note, maybe comments on YouTube, or pop me an email, tino@thecelticexchange.com. We'll try and help this fella out. The image that Asim was talking about is Christopher Julian wheeling away after scoring in the 1-0 2019 League Cup final that we absolutely stole. Absolutely stole it. We were poor on the day.
If that happened on Sunday, I'd love that.
You would take it. Morelos misses his penalty. Fraser Foster has a game of his life, and Chris Julian pops up with his big moment in a Celtic shirt. But James, final word goes to you.
Just a bit of reassurance for anyone that is talking about Celtic being off form. The stats that we've delivered in that off form period have been nothing short of phenomenal. On the cusp of qualifying for the playoffs in Europe, and I think we spoke about the 10-game run that we're going to go on. You're not going to get through that 10-game run with 11 guys. You're going to have to vary things. You're going to have to rest guys. There might be wee knocks here and there, and we've had all of that and come through it with positive results everywhere. And I think Sunday's a wee punctuation mark on that. But I think it's also when the absolute best of Celtic starts the game, plays to the flow in football that we've been playing before this 10-game run. So that kind of interruption of the flow of your football goes away on Sunday. Just look forward to it, enjoy it. It's going to be a cracker. Yeah, and we mentioned earlier on big games, big players, and I think that's exactly what we'll see on Sunday. So that wraps things up on this special League Cup final countdown to kick-off. Thanks to James, Paddy and Asim, and thanks to you for tuning in.
We'll be back to cover it all on Monday night on the weekly show. And remember, you do need to be a Celtic Exchange Plus member to get that early access. Otherwise, you'll need to wait until Tuesday. So if you haven't already done so, jump to the celticexchange.supercast.com to set that up and to put yourself in with a chance of winning a retro Celtic away shirt in our big Christmas Eve draw. But in the meantime, enjoy the final, and who knows, we could be on the brink of becoming the world's most successful football club if you buy into that kind of thing. Enjoy the game. We'll see you again soon.